It's charm, it's chilly, and it's rock and roll. Day number 3 of the Moss Spring Training Tours, and we head to Ohio for the Cincinnati Reds, who will be second. And we're going to start with the Cleveland Guardians. Vegas Mac, what is up, my man?
Oh, man, I'll tell you, Ohio, right? Man, oh, man, we got some talking to do.
2 ballparks that are high on my list, and I can't wait to get into these 2. What a year last year for the Guardians. Again, we're going to start with the Guardians. About 30 minutes from now, we'll transition over to the Redlegs, and a lot of excitement with both of these teams this year. And just, it's baseball season, Mac. We're always coming in hot. We're coming in heavy, and I just kind of feel like we should probably load the bases for this one. We're playing 2 today. So I've got a special surprise for everybody, even you, Vegas Mac. Are you ready for it?
I guess so. Hold on.
Boom. Look who's back, baby.
Hey!
It's not TJ Friedel. It's our own Tony James. What is up, TJ?
I was channeling my TJ Friedel, to be honest with you. So, I had to show up. I had to represent.
Like that. Hey, not everybody shows up at the beginning of spring training, and some people come in late, but they get the job done and they get out. I watched the Phillies and Tigers today. Felt like I was watching the Lions and Eagles today. It was bombs away down in Florida, and a lot of stuff going on in the baseball world, fellas. And let's dive right into this Cleveland Guardians team. The shock going into the offseason prior to this one was Tito Francona stepping down, leaving for health reasons. He takes a year off. Obviously, he goes to the other team in Ohio that we're going to talk about. But Stephen Vogt comes in, Mac, for the Guardians, and well-renowned in a lot of baseball circles. I don't think anybody was surprised that Stephen Vogt was able to kind of get the Guardians going. However, I think a lot of people were surprised that the Guardians were as good as they were last year and almost broke all the way through to October.
Absolutely. This is a team that, and we'll talk about, you kind of look on paper, there's no way that they would be able to compete. We'll talk a little bit about the division. I think the division had a little bit to do with that. But what an absolute good year. But once again, as we talked about, good regular season, postseason, not so much luck there.
How much did the Guardians surprise you, TJ, last year? I don't know how the expectations were for a lot of people. It's a good team. It's a good ball club, top to bottom. A lot of our talk last year was, would Shane Bieber be the guy that got kind of moved out and moved on from to kind of reload? And the Guardians didn't need to reload.
No, in fact, I think I made a point sometime around May or June that I thought that team was a potential World Series team. I thought they had it all going for them. And I'm actually kind of surprised that the roster has gone the way that it has gone lately. But I still have high expectations for this Guardians team. And I will be Venmoing you $1 for every time I call them the Indians, because I know it's going to happen at least 3 times.
It is still a weird transition for a lot of us in that regard. And let's get to our lead off here, guys. And my first thought when I think of the Guardians this year is, can they duplicate what they did last season? And they set the bar real high. We've seen a little bit of turnover, which we'll get into in depth here in just a second. But my first thought on the Guardians is, can they do it again, Mac?
For me, Mike, Cleveland may rock, but the Guardians will not.
Really? We'll get into that a little bit more. First thought on the Guards, TJ, going into this season, outside of how many times you're going to end up Venmoing me.
I think this division is the Guardians to lose, but I don't expect a whole heck of a lot of them once we flip to October.
I think that's a fair assessment. And I think there's a lot of people that are kind of flowing into that general middle ground because, as we saw last year, this was arguably the most entertaining division in baseball. The Royals are young, they're up and coming. Everybody outside of the White Sox really can stake some claim into this division here. And of course, it starts with the pitching, guys. And when you look at this rotation, they're going to be without Bieber. He's on the 60 IL right now. We don't have any ETA of when he's going to come back. So Tanner Bybee, Ben Lively, Gavin Williams, Luis Ortiz, Tristan McKenzie, Logan Allen. Again, Mac, we talked about this yesterday when we talked about the Rangers. And I really think that this is going to be something that we see this year. A lot of teams not necessarily utilizing the, quote, opener as much as they're going to utilize the sixth starter, because there are a lot of teams in baseball like the Guardians that have their best pitcher not really ready for opening day.
Here's the thing with the Guardians. They have, I think, without a doubt, the best bullpen in baseball. I know we'll get to that in a minute, but I think this is probably one of the best bullpens in baseball. If it's not number one, it's number two. And so when you go with that idea, even as a starter, especially nowadays, the way we use starters, if you can get 5 solid innings from a starter, 6 is a bonus, 7 is beyond a shadow of a doubt going to be great. With the bullpen that the Guardians have, that's going to be the success. Plus, you have a former catcher as a manager, knows how to use the bullpen, knows how to use those pitchers. That's the biggest thing. So, yeah, their starters. There's still some questions there. I want to talk about a couple of those guys, but the big deal with the Guardians right now is probably the number one bullpen in baseball.
Yeah, and it's, TJ, you experienced this as an Angels fan the last time you had any joy in being an Angels fan. When you have a closer that's got electric stuff at the end of a game, all you got to do is get to him. And in this new age of baseball, and it was kind of funny today, guys, when I was watching that Phillies Tigers game, and they had Roger Clemens mic'd up with his son Cody Clemens, who was playing first base today, and they kind of got into the general change in pitchers. Like, will we ever see a guy throw for 200 innings again? Will we ever see a guy throw 3,000 strikeouts in his career? And the game has definitely changed, and the Guardians are a perfect example of that, TJ, because when you've got Clase on the back end, and I think a lot of people have kind of forgotten about this because he was kind of forgotten about. I know Diamondback fans are kind of happy to forget about him, and Paul Sewald, who they brought in. You got a chance in this bullpen to essentially go closer to finish.
Oh, yeah, and that's going to be incredible. Like you said, all they have to do is get there, and it's funny because it's almost like that last season of happiness for me. They shortened those games to 5 innings. And once you shortened it to 5 innings and you just rolled through the bullpen, you knew it was over. So yeah, this is going to be really cool to see if they're able to sustain with Clase and maybe Sewald going in the 8th and Clase to the 9th or whatever they have to do. Yeah, get there, because what that's going to allow if the bullpen eats a little bit more now, that's going to take a lot of pressure off the rehab for Bieber, and so he can get back into the rotation.
Yeah, 92 and 70, Mac, and again, they blew everybody's expectations of them out of the water. But you talked about the bullpen depth, so I'm gonna let you run with this here. You got Clase on the backside, you got Sewald, but they've got some other great arms in that bullpen.
Yeah, they really do. Cade Smith, Tim Herron, among others. I mean, and they know how to use these guys in the right way, which is, like I said, which is a big part of it. I think a lot of times we see bullpens. Certain teams just don't use the bullpen the right way. And I mean, the way that the Cleveland used the bullpen, we'll talk about another team coming up, Detroit. I mean, Detroit is masterful at AJ Hinch and using the bullpen the right way. But that's the one thing about Cleveland. I think they use the bullpen in the right way. But that being said, I still think they need to get a little bit more out of the starters. They have some good. one thing that they have in their starters is they have depth.
Mm-hmm.
But my question is, even though they have depth, the quality is not there. So that's kind of where I am with their starters. I'm a little worried about some of their starters.
Yeah, and they finished, speaking of that bullpen, they finished third in ERA and 12th in FIP. I love saying that, in FIP last year, for those of you advanced metrics people. But, again, I think the proper perspective here is to remember how good the Guardians were at 92 and 70. And Bieber only made 2 starts for them last year.
Mm-hmm.
So they leaned heavy on that bullpen. Heavy.
Yeah, they were a team that seemed like they played a lot of close games. And I apologize, I don't have a number in front, but it seemed like they just played a lot of close games and got just big hit after big hit. And that's how they won a lot of their games. I mean, but that's part of the game. I mean, that's baseball for you. But I mean, I think their bullpen's going to take a step down. I mean, Clase I think his ERA was like 0.63 last year. I mean, that's almost nothing. I mean, that's giving up nothing. He's probably going to take a step back. But like I said, this bullpen is still pretty good. But I think the luck's going to start to run out a little bit on the Guardians.
Yeah, and when you dive into the starting pitching on this team, like, I think one of the key guys in there that we don't really know what to expect, because he's a guy who was incredible in 2022. Outside of that, he's been average at the very best, and that's Tristan McKenzie and his velocity, and he had a lot of zip in 2022, and we really haven't seen that. And he's, I think, a key guy there. Gavin Williams is another guy, I think, that we talked about the Braves on Monday, Ian Anderson. I mean, how many times has Ian Anderson's name ever been brought up that many times in 30 minutes? And those are the guys that really do push you over the top. Those third, those fourth, those fifth starters.
Right.
And again, like we've talked about, maybe the 6th starter this year. So there's a lot of usable pieces here. And I know, Mac, you'll love this. For some reason, catchers make the absolute best managers. You're back there, you're calling a game, you're used to the flow of the game, so that transitions well to the managerial spot. How many times Stephen Vogt wasn't ready according to certain teams? I think he proved his worth more so than anything last year, because he knows how to manage a ball club.
Yeah, I mean, you have to understand that, catchers forego a lot of their own offense to prepare for the pitchers on that day. And so they're in tune. I mean, you have to be in tune the entire time. And, you're in every pitch. You're 2 or 3 pitches ahead most of the time. When you come off the field, you're a little bit of a counselor to your pitcher. You're talking to the coach. You're putting very little time into your offense. This hurts me, because I know this is going to happen in the next year or so, but there's a amazing catcher who is a coach right now that's going to become a manager, and it's going to bring me to tears. And that's Jason Varitek. He's going to be a manager soon, and it's not going to be with the Red Sox. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't want to have to even talk about it anymore, but that's an example. I just think he's going to be an incredible manager. And it's true. Catchers just have the pulse of the game all the time. 9 innings. They're the heart and soul of a team.
I got a question for you, Mac. Sorry, Tito. I got a question for Mac. What are you going to do when Aaron Boone gets canned and Jason Varitek's the manager of the Yankees?
That will not happen. That will not. There is no. That will not happen.
Me and TJ are both like just chomping at the bit for that opportunity.
Dude, I want to see that so badly right now.
Do you want to see it, Tej, because of Mac, or do you want to see it because of Yankees, Red Sox, or C, all of the above?
I was going to say a little of column A and a little of column B there. Because I think
can you see? I was going to say, can you see when A-Rod walks into the locker room, he's going to deck him again?
Oh God, no, he's too busy in Minnesota right now. Go ahead, Tej. My bad.
Well, what I was going to say is, I think it's the catchers make the bad. Like, first off, I don't think you could tell that Stephen Vogt was his basically his first managerial job. Like, he had such a pulse on that team last year. Like, it seemed like everything he touched was correct, which is a tribute to him for knowing what he's doing. And yes, I agree. Now, one could say that maybe those later years in Oakland, that he was kind of in maybe like getting ready for that role. But I think it's the whole catcher thing is just because they're so in tune with, like you said, Mac, they're so in tune with the game, and they have an effect because there's only one other player on the team that's touching the ball. Yeah. Touching the ball more than the catcher.
I was going to be good. I wasn't going to say anything. I was just going to let you take that whatever path you wanted to go. But speaking about catchers, I mean, look what the Giants did. They finally pulled their heads out of their asses, and they have a catcher running baseball operations. I joked with you earlier, Tej, and you know this, but the last time you had any joy as a baseball fan, you had a catcher managing the Angels. I mean,
100%.
That's what it is.
Yeah, they're just dialed in. So now, are we going to see a regression here because he made all the right decisions last year? Does that mean just by the law of averages that we're going to see, he's maybe try to make the same moves and see a regression here? I don't know. This team, though, that like they provided, and I'll just add, they were one of two teams to provide one of the biggest moments in the postseason last year. And they did it twice in one game.
Yeah. I still don't think that ball that John Kenzie Noel hit last year has landed yet. So, let's maybe this is my theme of the spring training previews here, guys. Let's pull the camera back. And before we get into the offensive side of the Guardians here, let's look at that division. I mean, the Royals, a lot of hype, a lot of excitement behind the Royals, the Twins. I mean, I still think you have to factor the Twins in there for sure. Obviously, the White Sox are probably a decade and an owner away from being any good anymore. I think they'll be better this year. But, I mean, that being said, Mac, you can't really get much worse than the White Sox were last year. That division as a whole, we might not see 92 wins out of the Guardians, and we might not see regression, Mac, out of the Guardians. But I think we're going to see a lot more pressure from Detroit's another one of those teams, and we'll talk about them in next Wednesday's doubleheader. But I don't know if we're going to see regression from the Guardians as much as we're going to see more pressure from the rest of the division.
Well, there's definitely going to be pressure from the rest of the division. I honestly think we're going to see a little regression from the Guardians. I think this is a lineup that has quite a few holes in it. I think that's going to be their downfall. Again, as I said, I'm not big on their starting pitching. Again, depth, not quality. And I think, besides, Jose Ramirez, there's some definite holes in this offense. This is to me not an offense that's going to
shut
be
your mouth.
I'm telling you.
There's a guy on this team on Mike's Man Crush preseason all MLB team, and he's on the offensive side. Watch your mouth. Don't talk about Stephen Kwan like that. There are not holes in this lineup.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I think that's a perfect example. I mean, he had some good power numbers last year. I don't think he's going to have the same power numbers that he had last year that he will this year. I think he had a great year, but I think his power numbers are going to come down. He's not a 20 home run guy, 15, you're talking, 8, 9 home runs, maybe 10 pushing it. I mean, he had a good year. I think that's going to be part of the regression of the Guardians. I think he'll hit for average. I just don't think he's going to be the power guy that we saw.
TJ, do you see the same holes in the lineup before we get into the nuts and bolts of it that Mac does?
I see. I'm concerned about what they're going to do with Josh Naylor's production and when they sent that away. I don't know if Santana's the answer. I think they got to find something. That's a lot. I mean, granted, he didn't hit for average very well, but that's a lot of RBIs that he and a lot of runs that he had an impact on. So that's my concern.
Yeah, and
I mean, Santana's good.
Go ahead, Mac.
Santana's good in the middle of the lineup. I mean, he's been to Cleveland like 3 times or 4 times already. I mean, he takes a lot of pitches. He walks a lot. But his production, there's a reason he keeps leaving Cleveland as well. His production is just not there. I just don't think that there's enough in this lineup. Lane Thomas is good. Quan and Thomas at the top. Jose Ramirez is amazing. But other than that, you look at the bottom half of this lineup. It's not a strong lineup. Kyle Manzanardo is a young kid. They're putting a lot of pressure on him early in the spring. He's going to have to come up. He doesn't have a lot of major league at bats, but this is not a lineup that I know we're comparing it to a couple that we saw the last couple of days we talked about, Mike, but this is nowhere close to some of these lineups. I think they're going to struggle a little bit, and especially in that division, because like you said, the Tigers can pitch, the Royals can pitch, and they can score runs, and Minnesota too. I definitely, like I said, I see a regression in the Guardians this year.
Yeah, when you break down the play for Santana and letting Naylor go, I think it's clear. It's clear as day. The upgrade was from a defensive side, and Santana is a way better defender than Josh Naylor is. But I don't think it's that big of a difference, if you will, from an offensive standpoint, because you're talking about a guy in Santana who had 225 with 18 homers and 64 RBIs last year. Granted, Naylor, 31 homers, 108 RBIs, but he only hit 243. So you're not, from bat to ball contact, you're not losing a lot of average. You're losing some power there. But I think they believe in Kyle Manzardo a lot, and that's why they made the move for Naylor. But again, you just said it, Mac. Like, they're putting a lot of pressure on Manzardo to really, really, really be well and good for them. Be well. What the am I talking? Be good for them this year is what I'm trying to say.
And TJ, I got one for you, because I know how you feel about teams that have two quarterbacks. You've talked about that a lot. But so right now for Cleveland, at second base, it's Brito, it's Arias, it's Freeman, it's Martinez. So if they got four guys to play second base, TJ, what can you tell me about that?
That they don't have anybody to play second base?
You guys are forgetting about it. Our Australian friends watching us right now. Travis Bazzana, this is my bold prediction on the Guardians. Bazzana's going to be up before the year's over. And I know they like Brito a lot, but I don't think there's twofold here. Bazzana's going to be in Double-A. He's going to have to work his way up. I think that's where he's going to start. Obviously, we got a couple more weeks to figure that out. But I really think that they believe that Bazzana's going to be up sooner rather than later. So Brito's going to get his opportunity there, but will he be able to? The other big loss here, guys, as we're breaking down this lineup and the offensive production for the Guardians, Andres Gimenez. They sent him to Toronto. He's also gone. And I think that is a little bit more of a loss from an offensive and defensive standpoint, TJ, for them than maybe losing Josh Naylor.
Well, I agree. Look, Josh Naylor was a good offensive player, but that guy couldn't field to save his life compared to some of the other players that you mentioned. But yes, I agree with you. That loss is going to be huge for I almost said it. It's going to be huge for the Guardians. But I too agree with you about Bazzana. I think he's going to be up eventually, and this team too is relatively young, and that's good. I think that's good. Other than like Santana, and I know, but Bieber's not over the hill by any means. You got a lot of 26, 27, 25-year-olds on this team. I think it's going to be a good team, and it's going to be a good opportunity for these young kids to come in and make an impact. Yeah, and Mac, the interesting thing about the Bazzana situation is, Brito is going to get that start. He had some good numbers in Columbus for them, which is a great place to hit. Obviously, with the changes they made to the Jake. Sorry, and I know I'm not going to get any flack from Cleveland fans there. It's still the Jake, but I think the one thing that makes me a little like, hey, how are they going to handle the Bazzana situation is Cleveland is notorious for being extremely patient with prospects. But is their hand going to be forced with Brito if he doesn't produce to fast track Bazzana? I think that might be the most interesting thing for me to watch, Mac, with the Guardians team,
is do they try and fast track Bazana because Brito is struggling? Bazana and Brito, Jesus, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, and and they also lost another prospect today too, in Chase DeLauder. He went down. He's going to be out for like 8 or 12 weeks. I said like that, and so I mean that's just he was somebody that they kind of circled in and maybe would be in the outfield. So I was trying to look, some of the free agents that are out there. I mean, Alex Verdugo's out there. I mean, that would be an interesting bat, for them. But I like I said, I'm really worried about the Guardians. I think I love their bullpen. It's a mighty pen, but as far as this, I think this is going to be a down year for the Guardians.
So before we play a little game here, again, those of you watching, thank you. We are going to talk about the Cincinnati Reds here in just a few minutes. Doubleheaders on Wednesday all the way through our Moss Spring Training Tours. Again, follow us on all our social channels at Mike Arana Show, everywhere socially. I've been waiting for this one, except for Snapchat. Why are we not on Snapchat, TJ?
Because Snapchat sucks and we're not 12.
All right, it's time to play a game. You guys ready to play a game?
I like games.
I've got $100. We're going to start with Mac. Here's your 4 options. You're going to spend my $100 on which one of these you think is your favorite bet. Are you trying to bunt? Right. Bunting's for sissies. Number 1, over-under win total, 82.5. Number 2, AL Central, plus 300 for the Guardians to win it again. For the Guardians to win the American League, plus 1,500. Again, depends on where you look, but this is the general average here. And for the Guardians to win the World Series, they're plus 4,000. I will start with you, Vegas Mac. You have $100 of my hard-earned money. Mm-hmm. Which one of those will you place it on?
Crystal clear for me, it's going to have to be under the 82.
Wow.
Under the 82.
TJ, $100 of my money. One of those 4. It's technically 5 because you can go over or under the wins.
I'm going over the wins. I think this team wins 87 games. I think they win 87.
Yeah, and I think just we mentioned it a little while ago, guys. Like I just think, generally speaking, this division as a whole is gaining on the Guardians. I think is probably the consensus that we would all say that the rest of the division is closing the gap, and the Guardians have questions. Obviously, Mac, you are the one that has the most questions about the Guardians, and I think they're valid. I think there's a lot of hype. Obviously, the Cavaliers are playing great ball, so the city's hype. The Browns are the Browns, but there's a lot of energy in Cleveland right now, and a lot of excitement, and a lot of people that think they can do this. Now, Vegas Mac is probably not going to be welcome to Cleveland anytime soon because he's on the opposite side of it.
Well, anyway, I wouldn't want to go to that place anyway.
Have you ever been to the Jake?
I've been to Cleveland. My wife will not go to Cleveland, and there's a reason why. I don't know that I can share that story. I could, but did you want to hear the story?
Yeah, let's story time with Vegas Mac. We can't
story
go
time.
Here we go without story time.
The boys and the wife were all on our baseball trip. We're at the Jake. It's batting practice, and we're all trying to catch fly balls and this ball's coming out, and the boys and I go up, and we're trying to catch that home run, and meanwhile they're still going, and the next one comes up, and it goes flying right over our head and hits my wife right in the breast. Bruised that breast up pretty good. It was her signature for quite a while. I told you I had a story.
Is this not one that I was expecting?
Is this part of the washing my chicken trilogy?
Oh, no.
Okay, no, I need to clarify for people that have been following us. And again, we thank you. Again, follow us everywhere at Mike Arana Show. So we went to one of our final Football Friday shows. It might have been the Super Friday show ahead of the game that we can't call by the name of the game. Otherwise, the NFL Mafia guys will come bang at your window. and this growing trend on social media about washing your chicken. So a little bit of context there, story time with Mike, if you will. But final thoughts here. I'll go from right to left, and I don't know, because apparently this mirroring thing with me right to left, I don't understand anything. So TJ, you're on my right. Mm-hmm. Final thoughts on the Guardians, expectations for 2025, without giving away your full pick, because our first pitch season preview show will be coming up on March 26th.
I think this team has a solid season. I think they win fewer games than they did. I think they make it to October, and I think it's a quick stay.
Vegas Mac.
The pen is mighty, but there is no ink in the pen. It'll be a long summer for the Guardians.
All righty, let's transition to the other part of Ohio here. And as we do that, my collection of hats for bats. I didn't drop that one in there.
Nice.
This is a spring training hat for the Redlegs from, I don't know which year, but a lot of excitement, guys, about this Cincinnati Reds team. And it's interesting for me to try and figure out where most of it comes from, because I think it's twofold. You got one of the most exciting young players in baseball in Ellie De La Cruz, and you've got one of everybody's favorite managers in baseball in Terry Francona. And there is a lot of momentum, guys, with this Reds team. This is another gettable division. I think this division, and we talked, next week we're going to kind of get into this. We have the Brewers next week. We have the Cubs next week. So we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of the Central. But I think the Cincinnati Reds team is very, very exciting, very fun to watch. First thoughts, lead off for us, Mac, on the Cincinnati Reds in 2025.
Cincinnati Reds in 2025, we're going to be seeing really a lot of Dr. Johnny Fever and Venus Flytrap, because they're going to need to fill some times, because there are some holes in this Reds team. And I love Tito, but no.
Note to the people in the back on the show and our social team and our sales team here, please work on a Swiss cheese sponsorship for the show, because everybody's got holes, according to Vegas Mac. Do you see holes? What jumps out to you, TJ, on the Cincinnati Reds?
Let's just say that I'm looking forward to mid-August when the Reds roll into Anaheim, because I'm excited for the Reds. I picked them last year as a playoff team, and they disappointed me a little bit, but I saw a lot of things that I liked out of Cincinnati, and I think the addition of Tito is going to make just the decision-making is going to be better. And that's going to be good for 5 to 7 wins. So I'm really excited. And plus, how can you not like watching Ellie De La Cruz run the bases? I mean, holy smokes. That is so much fun to watch.
Yeah, and and I think the thing is, too, and the general consensus, Mac, that we've heard on the Reds is how hard Ellie De La Cruz works and how much work he puts in every single day. And you break down his numbers from last year, almost 600 at bats. 98 runs, 26 homers, 84 RBIs, 53 stolen bases, but he only hit 256. So I'm interested, easy for you to say, to see what the transition is to this year for Ellie De La Cruz, and if he's got a little more plate discipline. You never want to take the aggression out of an aggressive guy, but I'm interested to see if that batting average does come up.
I'm all with you. I'm not saying they're not exciting. But here's the deal. Like you said with Cruz, he led the league in 2 things. He led the league in strikeouts and he led the league in errors. And that's your shortstop. And I get it. The shortstop gets a lot hit to them, but that's not what you want. He's exciting. He's great to watch. My biggest issue with this team right now is what's happening on the mound. And that's the catcher in me. I look at these teams. I really look at what they do from a pitching standpoint. They got one guy that I really, really love. And we all know who that is. That's Hunter Green. He's amazing. He's got great stuff.
Throws up on the mound every 4
Throws
starts.
up on the mound. I mean, and we have to remember, in this day and age of, athletes, doing that, we have to remember, he was a great infielder as well, before he decided on being a pitcher. I mean, he's a great, great athlete, but their starting pitching gets really, really thin after that. And as we know, when you're playing in the Great American Ballpark, it certainly is. It's an amazing place to go, but that ball jumps out of there, like one of those. Remember, we used to have those bouncy balls, those little bouncy balls. That's what it's like. Can't think of the name of them. Yeah, that's what it's like playing in there. I mean, I've been to that stadium numerous times. Absolutely love the stadium. Not a bad seat in there. Absolutely love it. But man, does the ball jump out of that place.
Would you say the ball jumps out of that place like a quart of Skyline chili onto your spaghetti?
You watch your mouth right now. I will come through this camera. There will be no Skyline chili slander on this show ever. And let's be fair. I'll call it what it is. It's more of a chili sauce than it is a chili. Mm-hmm. Here comes everybody in Cincinnati after me. But I love it. I buy it out here locally. One of the main things I do every spring, the Surprise Stadium where the Royals and Rangers play, one of my favorites. Peoria, where the Padres and Mariners play. Used to live down the street from there. Yep. Now a lot closer to the Surprise Stadium. But I go down to Goodyear purposely, and I've got one friend back home. I know if he's watching, is going to laugh about this because he's made the trip with me plenty of times. We go to the Goodyear ballpark just for the Skyline chili. So I will put up with zero slander when it comes to Skyline chili here as we go forward. Getting off the chili thing, 16 games back of the Brewers last year in the Central. They were fourth in the Central, 77 and 85. Obviously, a change in leadership was needed there. How many wins does Tito Francona, I'll start with you, Mac. How many wins does Tito Francona increase the Reds by this year? Just him alone.
A handful.
You don't have to give me an exact number.
A handful. Yeah, I mean, he's not going out there and pitch. That's for sure. And he's not going to hit. So, I mean, he's going to change the culture. I mean, we already know that. I mean, that's something that he's going to do. I mean, I love the guy. I mean, he's great. I mean, he's going to change the culture there. They like you said, they definitely needed that. But, you can change the culture all you want. You still got to be able to pitch. You still got to be able to hit. And that's, do I think the Reds are going to be better? I think they might be better, but I think it's still a long year for Terry.
Teach.
Well, I think it's worth at least 7 wins. Look, that division is pretty. You got the Brewers. The Cubs are going to try and hang in there as long as they can. I like the Pirates. I like what they're doing. You're right, Mac. They do have to pitch. I mean, Hunter Green. Come on, Hunter Green. There, I had to say that. He had a 9-9 record, and he was the best pitcher on the staff at 9-9. That's not going to cut it. He's got to win 16, 17 games. He's got to get enough starts, and he's got to get out there to do that. So you're right, Mac. Francona's not pitching. You're right. But I think that if Francona can put them in positions to succeed like a good manager, like he did in Cleveland, I think this team can be better. And I think that's worth getting up to 84, 85 wins. And I think 85 might be enough.
Well, it could be possible. Here's a couple of things. You hate to put pressure on young guys, but we're going to have to. Matt McLain's going to have an amazing year. I mean, that's all there is to it. We know what Ellie's going to do. Matt McLain's going to be there. I don't think he liked this at first, but Gavin Lux is going to be good in Cincinnati. I mean, he was good with the Dodgers. He is going to be good in Cincinnati. He kind of feels like that, like a Cincinnati kind of player. You know what I mean? He really does. I kind of see him in that. I love the two catchers that they have. I love Stevenson. I love in the trade when they got Trevino from the Yankees. I love that. But here's the thing. And then I can't forget Candelario. I mean, they need him as well. But outfield play, that's where your bombers are. They don't have that big power guy. It could be Spencer Steer. We'll have to wait and see. He's another one. There's just so many question marks with this team. Could those guys have better years? If they do, with Tito there, could that make a difference? Yeah, but I haven't seen it yet. The track record's not there. And I agree with you, TJ. I thought 2 years ago this team was ready to rock and roll and make the playoffs and make a run. And I just don't think they have enough yet. And it starts on the mound and this offense, it's there. I think they'll be better, but not enough.
Yeah, and I think that the Great American Bandbox is obviously a fun place to watch a game, but it does create some challenges. And when we're talking about the pitching staff here, 16 different starting pitchers, nobody made more than 26 starts last year. The one guy in there that we've talked about is Hunter Green, but they make the trade, they get Brady Singer from the Royals. Here's the interesting thing about Singer. He throws a lot of strikes. He's a ground ball pitcher, but he's going to make 15 starts in Cincinnati this year. And how does that affect the general rule of thumb? They've got Rhett Lauder down there, one of their top prospects, great pitcher. Again, this is another team I think is a prime candidate, Mac, and I'm going to bang this drum until somebody comes out, some manager comes out and actually says it, and then I feel smart. That I think this is another prime candidate team for a 6-man rotation. And I think we will see that because Tito knows what he's doing, man. He's a baseball guy and he can read the writing on the wall here. I mean, you're probably better off with this team kind of going to that 6-man starter kind of move with what they have. Damn, English is a hard language.
We've talked about that a lot the last couple of days and we haven't addressed it. I mean, I have to tell you, I hate the opener. I think that is the worst thing in the world.
It.
I can't. I get it, but it just for me, if you're going to commit that, that kind of thing, like I'd rather just have see, now you gave it to me, the 6-man rotation. That's what I'd rather have, and give these guys an extra day off. And then if you get into like early in the year, you really don't need it because there's enough days off kind of at the beginning of the year. They usually have a lot of extra days off that first month. You could probably swing with the 5, load up the bullpen a little bit more. But, as you get going, why not? I mean, is it going to affect Hunter Green? Is it going to make him better? Probably, because he's going to have a little more time to go in there. We talked about Chris Sale, how the Braves built in those extra days, and when they didn't, what happened to him? He broke down. So listen, what do these teams have to lose? I mean, give it a shot. But it's definitely. I mean, we've talked about it and we've heard about it, but nobody's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the Reds, and I'm interested to see if this changes at all. The Reds last year, I mean, you're looking at this lineup, and they had 4 different guys with at least 16 steals. Obviously, Ellie with 53. Here's an interesting thought. I'm going to throw this out to both of you, and I'll start with you, TJ, as we kind of transition into their lineup here and importance. So, projected lineup, we're looking at Friedel, Matt McClain, EDC, Stevenson, Fraley, Hayes, Lux, Candelario, and Benson. A healthy Matt McClain, I think, makes a big, big difference for this team. Ellie De La Cruz gets a lot of the attention. Who's the more important player to this team? TJ Friedel or a healthy Matt McClain? And you can't say TJ Friedel just because it's TJ Friedel, okay? I'm going to get that out of the way right now.
Can I say TJ Friedel because he's a Nevada grad?
I knew you were going to. If I took away one low-hanging fruit, I knew you were going to take the other one. So,
I think it's Matt McClain, but I think I'm going to go. I think I'm going to go also with Spencer Steer. This team, if he's not able to go at the beginning of the season, we're going to find out really quick who's more important, because that guy, if he gets going, look out. That guy can basically hit it into the river from that home plate. But I think it's Matt McLean. I think it is. I don't know why they don't have. I mean, I think I know why, but I'm surprised that they don't have De La Cruz projected to lead off this year. I think that's way. I think that would be more effective, and put Friedel in the 9 spot.
Interesting. For me, one of the things that I think this lineup just lacks. I mean, if it was me, if I'm the GM, one of the things that I'm doing is I'm going to find somebody in the middle of that lineup that hits home runs out of the Grand Canyon. You know what I mean? I'm just going to find someone who can hit home runs. Can you hit home runs in the Grand Canyon? You're going to hit them. You're going to hit twice as many, at the Great American Ballpark. And to me, I think someone like a JD Martinez would fit perfect in that lineup. Somebody, let him DH. He's going to hit home runs. He's a professional hitter. That's what I would look for, because when I look at this lineup, I mean, they're going to hit home runs because of where they are. But tell me, who's your home run hitter? And that's, to me, in a lineup, that's what's lacking in this lineup. They're lacking the home run hitter. You get 2 guys on. Yeah, we need a home run. Not in Cincinnati. We need a home run in Atlanta, or we need a home run in wherever else we're playing. That's what this team lacks. I call them easy runs. That's what home runs are. They're easy runs. This team needs easy runs on the road. They get them at home. They need easy runs on the road.
Since Rob Manfred needs people to do his job and make his game more exciting, I mean, keep your eyes peeled, folks, for a baseball game between the Diamondbacks and Reds from the Grand Canyon, since Mac just put that into his brain. When you look at this at the beginning of the year, they start with the Giants, then they got the Rangers. I was kind of hoping their home series with the Rangers was a little bit farther pushed into the hot weather and when the ballpark turns into the bandbox the most, because you want to talk about a 3-game series that you might see 200 runs in, it's Rangers and Reds in Cincinnati. So they start with the Giants, then they have the Rangers, then they're at the Brewers, they're at the Giants, Pirates, Mariners, Orioles. That's kind of the gist of the beginning of their schedule. So they're going to be up against it here right at the beginning. And for me, when I look at them and what they have, and you mentioned him already, Mac, I think Gavin Lux, he had the injury last year. I think Gavin Lux might be one of the biggest keys to how well this team performs, at least from an offensive standpoint. I do agree with you guys. I think the pitching leaves some incredible high ceilings, but it also leaves some middle of the road things in there. But I think Gavin Lux is a guy with a healthy McLean, Friedel, De La Cruz, Jake Fraley, who's is there not a better beer league softball looking dude in baseball right now than Jake Fraley? I mean, that dude just hits pimp jobs, if you will, to use a common term here. And obviously, we do the dollar dingers, and those will be back this year. And the Reds make frequent appearances on dollar dingers for us, and for good reason. But, it's going to be interesting to see what Tito does with this. Great quote from him the other night. They were playing a night game down here in Arizona in Goodyear. And Tito's on the mic, and he goes, listen, our job is to go out there and kick somebody's ass every single day, and try and kick somebody's ass every single day is what he said. I think that just general aggression from TJ, is how this team has an incredibly high ceiling. But it makes me wonder, before we play our game here, is this a 500 baseball team? Can they put pressure on the Brewers? Can they compete with the Cubs? I know there's a lot of smoke and a lot of hype around the Pirates, but let's put the Pirates in proper context here. The Pirates have Paul Skeens. The Pirates don't really have anything other than Paul Skeens. That's why the Pirates keep getting talked about. And Pirates fans, if that upsets you, I'm sorry. I'm just telling you what I see. the Pirates have Paul Skeens, and they've got some decent pitchers, but they don't have anything that scares me. So can this Reds team put any pressure on the top of the division, Teach?
I think they can play into September and play meaningful games. Whether or not that's going to make a difference, I don't think they're a division winner this year. I don't think if you put the rubber to the road here, I think they fall a little bit short. I agree with you guys in saying that there's a couple of pieces where they may need some help here, but I think this team is more competitive. I think this team is better than last year's team. I think they're over 500.
Mac, do they put pressure on the
TJ? I agree. I mean, as I said, I think the Reds are going to be better, but this is unless they do something as an upgrade in their pitching staff, which I don't see them doing. I do not think that this is a team that's going to be able to compete with either the Brewers or the Cubs. I think they'll be in it, but not for a division.
All right, it's that time. $100 of my money. Now I'm gonna throw a curveball at you here. I still I'm a couple shoulder surgeries, but I can still
You just hit it the other way.
one. I can still crack one
Go
off.
the other way.
You wouldn't hit it the other way. I would strike.
Yes,
you
I
out.
would. No.
Oh, this is gonna happen. This is going to happen.
Just
wear a helmet. My accuracy might not be the same as it was before the shoulder surgeries, but all right, I'm going to throw this out. World Series, you'll
be dodging piss missiles. Don't worry.
Piss missiles. 100-1 to win the World Series. So that's not part of this. They are 50-1 to win the National League pennant. If you want to make that part of this, you can. Plus 650 to win the Central. Their win total is 78.5. And here's the curveball. To make the playoffs, they are a plus 300. To miss the playoffs, they are a minus 400. So those are your options there. Win the Central at 650. Over under win total 78.5. Make the playoffs, yes, or make the playoffs no. $100 of my money. TJ, you are up first.
I'm going to take over the win total, but I am going to be sweating that thing out until September 23rd.
TJ, it's like the most exciting chase to 500 that you could ever have in baseball. Mac, what are you taking with my money?
Man, I want to say over 78 wins.
78.5. But since I know get to 79.
Yeah, that's right. Missed the playoffs. They're not winning the division, so they're not making the playoffs. There's too many.
I don't actually physically give you my $100 because you just took a minus 400.
I don't care.
He may be the only one that comes back with money, though.
None of them make sense.
I think we, after you get outside of the excitement that Tito Francona's there, I think the Reds in 2026 are going to be a lot scarier than they are in 2025. I agree with you guys. I don't know if this is a 500 team unless they make a big move. And the reason being, I love their offense. I think their offense is going to win them a lot of games just by itself. It's Hunter Green, ironically Green.
Okay,
take that how you want to when he's standing on the mound. Brady Singer, Nick Lodolo, Nick Martinez, Andrew Abbott, Wade Miley, and then we know about Rhett Lauder. So I think you're going to have to go 6-man rotation, and one of these guys is going to have to get to 17, 18 wins. And then I think they're going to lean a lot on Brady Singer to try and get him to 12 to 15 wins. And I don't know if that's possible.
Well, and TJ, I think you said it. I mean, what was Hunter last year? He had 9 wins. Mm-hmm. So
he's your ace.
He's right. So are you telling me that he's going to be 8, 9 wins better this year? I mean, that's how I'm kind of looking at it. And then, I mean, without giving away all our playoff stuff, I mean, I'll be honest with you. How many teams don't answer? Just think about how many teams in the Central are making the playoffs.
You know what? After next Wednesday, when we talk about the Cubs, I think I'll have a little better answer for you. But I think that's a good point. I think like the AL Central and convenient scheduling here by the people that make our spring training schedule here. I mean, we put 2 Central teams in for a reason here. Next Wednesday, we have 2 Central teams again. I think the AL Central is compelling as all hell because outside of the White Sox, anybody can win it. I think the NL Central is compelling as hell, but not for the same reasons. It's who can actually have the best pitching staff in the NL Central to win that division, because the best pitching staff in the Central is going to win that division. And somebody watching is going, oh, of course, pitching, Matt. No, I mean, like, that's literally what it is. All the teams in the Central, in the National League Central, they can all put up runs. They can all put up numbers. They're all fairly friendly hitter parks. Whoever can put together the pitching staff with somebody that gets to 17, 18, 20 wins in that division. Here's what I'll say. Bold prediction, part 2. Hunter Green's had really good velocity so far in the spring. I know it's the spring. Some guys he's pitching against are the equivalent of me at 43 years old, but he's got the good velo right now, and so far in the little bit we've seen, he looks good. That being said, like, I think the first team in the Central that gets the 20-game winner is the team that wins the Central. The second there's a pitcher in the Central that has 20 wins, that's the team I'm going to go, it's theirs, it's over, it's done. Because that's how close I think everybody in the National League Central is. Am I right or wrong, Teach?
Well, I think that's fair. I think it's very fair. I'm just trying to think who that pitcher on the Chicago Cubs is going to be.
I'm not going to. All right.
Look, I think that I just want to say, I think Matt, once again, I'm just going to reiterate what Max said. Like, 9-9 is your ace. He has to be better than that. Your ace has to be better than 9-9. Otherwise, you can have all the runs you want. But if you're scoring 11 and you're giving up 12, you're losing. So, Hunter has to be better, but I think he can be better, and I think he will be better.
Final thoughts on the Redlegs, Vegas Mac.
The future's bright. I mean, you got to love Tito. Future's bright. He's going to bring a dynamic to that team that they haven't seen since Pete Rose. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? Kind of. Well, I'm sorry. I had to go there.
No,
Okay.
no. I'm biting my tongue because I screw it. We're here. I've said this, and I will continue to say this. There is zero reason for Pete Rose to not be in the Hall of Fame, and I'm trying to keep this as PG as possible, even though I don't have to. I think it's complete and utter bullshit that, now we're going to revisit this. And Pete said it himself while he was still with us. That when I pass away, they'll put me in the Hall of Fame. I think that's complete and total bullshit. Right. And it's I could go on for an hour on that, and I'm not going to.
I know. I didn't mean to open up the can, but I was making a point.
No, it's fine.
Like that's how that Reds team is going to be this year with Terry. I mean, go back and look at his history. Phillies, Red Sox, Guardians. They're scrappy teams. They, bunch of idiots. That's how they are. That's what this Reds team is going to be. Not in 2025 though.
I think the Reds. I think they'll get over 500. I don't think they're going to be a factor in the division unless they make a massive move at the deadline. If they can tread water and they can get overproduction out of their starters, I think that there is a market there where they can add somebody that does push them. I think they're going to be a team we're going to get a real good gauge on in about early June. I think that's when we're going to really kind of see what the Reds actually are. Setting the schedule for the rest of the week. Tomorrow, the San Diego Padres go yourself, San Diego, and Baltimore on Friday. Short form this weekend for the Washington Nationals, a team I'm actually very excited to watch this year. Also, the artists formerly known as the Oakland Athletics. Those will be short form videos on Saturday on our social channels at Mike Arana Show. Sunday, the Rockies and Rays, again, short form videos. Monday, we've got a pre-recorded some conflicts for us on Monday, but the Milwaukee Brewers and then the Houston Astros, that gets you all the way out till next Tuesday. So again, tag your friends, tell your friends, follow along. Lots of fun stuff coming. It's a great time of the year to be a sports fan. We're almost at March Madness. We're closing in on the Masters, NFL free agency. The Warriors are red hot. Come at me, bro. And everything else. For TJ, for Vegas Mac, for the people behind the scenes, we will talk with you tomorrow. We are out.